Hello, good evening everyone, and welcome to IVF webinar by Egg Donation Friends. I'm Sophie and I will be your host today. So I hope that you can all hear me and just let me know if everything is working fine. Can you hear us properly? And I will be grateful for the information from you. We're here today together with Dr. Hanna Visnova from IVFcube. She's a medical director at IVFcube. And today's topic is fresh or frozen oocytes for your IVF with donor eggs. Is fresh bread better than the frozen one? The presentation will take about 20-25 minutes, and then after that we will start the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can type those questions in the chat section, starting even now. Before we will start, I will just remind you that this webinar is being recorded and it will be available on our website tomorrow under the link which I just paste into the chat section. And I think that for now, this is all from me. So Dr. Hanna, are you ready?
Yes, of course. Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon.
Good evening. So just start.
So I would like to explain you some important things regarding egg donation treatments and to explain the options of fresh or frozen oocytes, both from the patients and clinics' perspectives, to explain the limits and advantages of both methods. So if we start with the managing of treatment cycle using donor eggs, we should look at the program from the patient's perspective. What is the best scenario, how to attend to the treatment, and what is the perspective of the clinic, of the medical doctors, as myself. Then in the second part of my presentation, we will compare the available success date, mainly the dates available from our fertility clinics regarding the results from last 5 years of treatments. And that at the end of my presentation, I will try to conclude what is my current opinion if the fresh or frozen egg, what is the better option. So nowadays, in the whole world is a wide spread of donor oocyte of the banking, as we have achieved a new sufficient method for egg freezing. As probably some of you know, the human egg is one of the largest cells of human origin. The diameter of a human egg is approximately 0.1 millimeter. So there is a high volume, high amount of water inside of the egg. And this is the reason why the freezing of eggs is the most difficult human cell to be frozen, as we need to prevent formation of ice during the freezing method. In earlier years, there was just a method of slow freezing available, and it was believed that with slow freezing, only 1 of 100 frozen oocytes later resulted in pregnancy. Since 2007 is a new method available, and the new method is called vitrification. It's a method of rapid freezing, and it has much more improved the success rate of freezing and survival rate of oocytes. And this is why the method is now widely used, and we can now achieve from 100 of oocytes, we can now achieve in average 5 pregnancies. Sperm freezing is a method which is known for decades, probably for 60-70 years, and there have been millions of children born all around the globe, as the sperm is very easy to be frozen. So sperm donation and sperm bank do exist for longer as 50 years, and there is no doubt about the method and their outcome and their safety. If we look to the egg donation program from the perspective from the side of the medical doctors and infertility clinics, the egg banking offers us a huge advantage because we can have a smooth workflow when planning the stimulations and the egg collections. We can easily organize the treatments for the donors, as we don't need to synchronize the menstrual cycle between the donor and the recipient. We have also longer safety time span to arrange additional testing or testing for transmitted diseases. We can much more easier maintain the mandatory anonymity. In our country, it's just anonymous donation allowed. And also egg banking, not in our country, but I believe in US and UK and some other countries, is allowed to use donated eggs provided by affiliated clinics in different countries, and the transport of gametes of eggs is available, so it can include third-party clinics from countries with much more easier access to potential donors. From the perspective of a patient, of a couple who is interested for a treatment using egg donation, the egg banking gives them a reduced risk of treatment cancellation in case of unexpected response of the donor, or if any health issues occur on the side of the donor, if there is a low response of risk of hyperstimulation, then in case of fresh egg donation, its risk of cancellation affects approximately 5% of cycles. But once the frozen eggs are available in an egg bank, then there is no risk of treatment cancellation, as the eggs are already available and are assigned for a couple who has requested the treatment. Also, the egg banking may allow a broader selection of donors, better matching, and of course there is a short waiting time, as the queuing and preparation of frozen eggs is just a question of minutes, not to prepare anything for months or years. For the patient who will receive donated eggs, frozen eggs, is no need of down regulation, so the treatment could be more comfortable. The recipient can avoid the side effect of medication use for down regulation. There's also an advantage that the treatment could be done in natural cycle. If there is a natural lining quality and natural ovulations occur, then there is a lesser need of medication. We can easily schedule such treatment using the frozen eggs, as we can respect better the travel arrangements and job commitments of the couple who request egg donation. So that means that there is lesser stress for patients. But what is probably a concern of patients who attend to egg donor is the uncertain source of eggs. If there is a good track of the eggs, especially if frozen eggs are transported from different countries, there might be difficulties in the future to track the source of eggs and to contact the donor in the future if any medical questions arise, or if there is any need because of the child's illnesses or the health troubles. We have arranged a study to compare frozen and fresh donated oocytes. We wanted to compare the success rate if there is a similar pregnancy rate and take-home baby rate. But we will also want to answer if we waste some eggs because of the freezing, if the efficiency of the retrieved fresh oocytes can be compared to frozen oocytes. That means if we can have similar numbers of good quality embryos, if we can achieve similar implantation rate and similar rate of oocyte will result to healthy baby born. Our analysis included 266 fresh donation cycles performed during 2016 compared to 63 cycles using frozen donor eggs. We have done a profound statistical comparison of both treatment groups and the stimulation drugs used. The total dosage given for donors was very similar. All parameters of donors have been comparable. The age of the donors was around 27 years of age. There was no statistical significance between both groups. The recipient age, the average age was 41 years of age. There were also no significant differences on the side of the recipient group. So here are our results. In total, we are speaking about a study performed on a group of almost 3,000 oocytes used for fresh donation, divided into 266 couples. And we compared the results to 716 frozen oocytes, which were affiliated for a treatment of 63 couples. The age was similar of the donors. There was a similar age of the recipients in both groups. The total pregnancy rate for fresh oocytes was 68.0.5. I need to explain that the average rate of embryos used for transfer was 1.4. For the frozen cycle, the pregnancy rate was 42.86, and there was in average just one embryo used for the embryo transfer. When we look at the cohort of fresh and frozen eggs, so of course in the fresh cycle, then 100% of those eggs were used for the ICSI, for the method of fertilization. For the frozen cycle, we have achieved 93% survival rate of frozen eggs after chewing. Then fresh cycles in the fresh stage, the oocytes fertilized in 85% compared to 72% frozen eggs. And then good quality embryo, at least one good quality embryo in the blastocyst stage was available for 96% of fresh egg donation cycles compared to 62% couples using frozen eggs have had at least one top quality embryo available. Here is the summary in a table. In one treatment cycle, we got approximately 11 eggs used for the treatment. And the pregnancy rate was 68% in the fresh cycle compared to almost 43% with the frozen cycles. As you see on the bottom of the slide, there was a high statistical significance between all groups in terms of fertilization rate, of blastocyst rate, and most important, the pregnancy rate did differ statistically. Here is a picture or a summary how to explain the results. So imagine to have approximately similar groups of frozen and fresh eggs. If you get a group of 100 eggs available in fresh stage, you can expect 32% of them to develop into blastocyst, but once you get the same batch of 100 eggs frozen, then because you lose some eggs during the freezing and viewing, then later the fertilization rate is lesser than from the similar batch of 100 eggs. Finally, you achieve 13.3% good quality embryos. From those fresh eggs, 6 of 100 result in implantation, so pregnancy was confirmed, in comparison to 5 eggs available, 5 eggs being implanted in the frozen cycle. And the most important and the most crucial question was each couple is asking is how many children they get. So with 100 fresh eggs, we can expect 6 eggs to result in a pregnancy. If we have 100 frozen eggs, we expect 3.7, so almost 4 pregnancies to be achieved. And you should consider also the number of eggs which are the surplus eggs. When we got approximately 11 eggs per treatment cycle, regardless if fresh or frozen, then for the fresh cycle, we have almost 2 embryos available for freezing. And if the couple intends to have future treatments and all those frozen blastocysts, those good quality embryos in the near future get chance to be used for the fertilization, we can expect to increase the number of children born from the treatment to 13%. If we got the same batch of 11 eggs per treatment cycle, then we achieve pregnancy with 3.76% of eggs, but only is less than 1 surplus embryo available. So this is varying, but not each couple has a single embryo available for future treatments. So we can in the future, if those frozen embryos which result from the treatment using frozen and warmed oocytes, then the total cumulative hypothetical baby rate is 6.8 babies born from those oocytes. So there is a real statistical significance as written on the bottom of the slide. So here is just a figure presenting the reality that once you have fresh eggs, you can from 100 eggs you have finally 7 children born. Then you need 7 eggs to achieve a healthy live birth, and from frozen eggs you use 14 eggs to reach a healthy live birth. So that means that we need significantly higher number of eggs needed to achieve a pregnancy with frozen eggs. And I would like to remind you that in our study we were using about 11 eggs per treatment cycle. So that means that if you got a fresh cycle and you look at the cumulative perspective, that all 11 eggs have chance to be used for the future treatment, then you have just 7 or 8 of them are sufficient to achieve delivery. If you get 11 frozen cycle, then more couples unfortunately don't achieve the pregnancy, and they finally they don't have any surplus embryos left over. So my conclusion is that fresh donor cycles have disadvantage that they are time consuming. There is a need of advanced managing skills required on both sides, the clinic and the patient. The patients need to be more flexible, they need to spend more time, there is much more communication needed to synchronize the cycles between the recipient and the donor. There is high risk of treatment cancellation if some unpredictable events occur on the side of the female donor or female recipient or the male partner. But on the other hand, despite the high work and the cumulative pregnancy rate is higher, so we have more pregnancy rate achieved thanks to fresh oocytes, and most couples have surplus embryos available, so they have higher chance for following frozen cycles, and they can get more offsprings from the same source of eggs. So we believe, and this is a little bit in contrary to some literature sources, but we believe that the freezing of and banking of oocytes can still be a waste of biological material, as the recruitment of young available donors is very difficult. There is a lot of countries where is the egg donation prohibited, and once we have data that during the freezing we lose some eggs, then we need to discuss both options, and still we recommend to use the fresh donor treatment, as also consider the stimulation and risk of the stimulation for the donor, and we don't want to risk the health and complications of young donors and then later to waste eggs because of the freezing method. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed my slides, and I'm open to answer your questions.
And thank you a lot for the presentation. We will then jump to questions, and I will display those questions on the screen also and read them out loud. And the first one is: if there are embryos left over from my egg donation cycle, can I have them shipped to my home country, or do they need to stay in the clinic's bank?
Of course, you can arrange a shipment of your surplus embryos to your home country. That is just necessary to check the legislation in the particular country, but in general is possible. There are also transport companies arranging the shipment available.
And thank you for the answer. Next question then. How can one find egg donors of Afro-Caribbean descent?
You need probably to contact countries in Caribbean or in Africa when they can have donors of the Afro-Caribbean phenotype. In Europe, in Czech Republic, it's difficult to find anyone with Afro-Caribbean descent.
Thank you a lot. And the next one. I have adenomyosis and thyroid levels 7.2 with stillborn and miscarriage. What is best for me?
I need to know more details regarding your case, sorry, but based on this data, I am unable to answer this question.
Yes, of course. And if you have the need to ask the question, you can always let us know writing an email to patients at eggdonationfriends.com, and we will forward this to IVF Cube also. The next question: how many of the women who got pregnant gave birth to a healthy baby? A difference between frozen and fresh blastocyst eggs?
Yeah, so we can return to the slide.
Yeah, okay.
So the pregnancy rate for fresh eggs was 68%, and for frozen was 42%.
Yes, thank you. The next question is, I have a slightly different question. I would like to know if food may affect implementation. For example, does gluten intolerance or lactose intolerance may cause implementation failures?
Of course, some immune issues may affect the implantation. Gluten intolerance is associated with high risk of abortions, and the same for other intolerabilities. So yes, this is not the food, but the immunity problem could affect the successful implantation.
And thank you for the answer as well. The next question. Slow freezing has been used before to freeze oocytes or embryos. Since when the clinics use vitrification? I mean the year.
Vitrification was introduced 2007, and in some countries was because of legislation allowed around 2010. I believe in the US is available or not marked as a scientific experimental method since 2013.
Thank you again for the answer. And let's see the next one. If I understand it correctly, you advise to choose fresh egg donation.
Yes, I do. I know the advantage of frozen eggs, but I'm also informed about the disadvantages, and when we summarize the limitations and advantages, then I believe myself that fresh egg donation is still the best option and the best chance to get pregnant.
Thank you for explaining this also. Let's see the next one. Which criteria do you use to choose a donor? Do you find a donor that looks similar to the patient?
Yes, we provide recipients with a donor matching form, and they need to describe their phenotype. They can submit some pictures of themselves, and then if they want, we can match the donor with with identical blood type, or sometimes they have different requests, but we can do also only anonymous egg donation, so we are unable to give them exact data regarding the donor, or we are not allowed to show pictures of donors if we speak about treatment in Czech Republic.
Yes, thank you. The next question is there any difference how the donor will be chosen regarding fresh or frozen eggs donation?
No, there is no difference.
Okay, once again, thank you. Let's see the next question. Is pregnancy rate the same as really giving birth to a baby, or do some women lose their babies in miscarriages? Is there a difference?
No, there is really no difference, and there have been already millions of children born thanks to egg donation, and the pregnancy rates of egg donation are higher as the pregnancy rate of conventional IVF treatments, because the donors are young women, so younger as the normal IVF patients who attend for a treatment.
Okay, thank you. And for now, we can...
Can we return to the previous question? I get one note.
Okay, but you need to maybe...
This was if there is a difference regarding match of the fresh or frozen.
Yeah.
I want to highlight that for the frozen eggs, there might be shorter waiting time because the eggs are frozen in comparison to the fresh. But on the other hand, for the fresh egg donation, because those donors are stimulated in our clinic. So they visit us on a weekly basis for the donation. They do all the investigations so we can provide the recipients with much more details regarding the donor in comparison to egg banking or frozen eggs in different countries where sometimes the eggs are supplied from a third country of origin, so there is then, I believe, lack of information if you choose or you really buy eggs on web through some international egg bank.
Yes, and thank you for coming back to the question. We will then take the next one, and if you have any more questions, just feel free to type them in the chat section. But for now, we will go to this one. If the born child after egg donation is diagnosed with genetic illness, can the clinic provide some additional information of it, if necessary, for the child treatment?
Yeah, of course, and we have been in such situations. If there is any need of repeated testing of the donor, then we can contact the donor in the near future and ask her to return for blood sampling or smell tests, or to provide us with more details regarding the family history. So it can be an advantage because we have the track of the donors, and based on our legislation, we need to keep the data of the donors for 30 years.
Okay, and thank you a lot. Let's check the next one. Is there a risk if embryo at blastocyst stage is frozen for PGS and implemented afterwards?
The pregnancy rates following genetic testing of embryos, PGS screening, are all around the world around 60-70%. Vitrification method used for the freezing, there is a survival rate of 95%. So there is approximately 5% risk of embryo not to survive the chewing process, but once it has survived, the pregnancy rate in general is around 60-70% based on the medical history and age group of the patient.
And thank you for the answer and the question, of course. And the next one we will have is, so from fresh eggs and blastocysts, there is a rate of giving birth to a baby that is above 60% chance, and for frozen eggs, blastocysts, around 45%.
Exactly. Similar work was published recently in the United States by Kushner, and they have achieved very similar results as we did.
Thank you. And the next question, do you have a Skype consultation and how much does it cost?
We do have a Skype consultations, and we do not charge anything for them.
Thank you for the answer. Yes, and let me check the next question. And here it is. For how long are embryos allowed to stay frozen in your clinic? Is there any time limit, or can they be frozen for many years?
There is a legal limitation of 10 years. From a medical point of view, the limit is probably longer, but we are facing the legislation, and so 10 days is the maximum duration of storage. In our country, not in our clinic, but in our country. But this is similar in also other countries in Europe.
And thank you for explaining this one as well. The next one is, if a patient is 49 years old and has a myoma, is it more difficult to get pregnant than for a younger person?
It depends on the myoma, on the size of myoma, and especially on the localization. If the myoma is localized under the lining, so-called submucous myomas, then they can affect the implantation, and the prognosis to achieve a pregnancy is poor. But also you need to consider the age of 49. It might not be difficult to get pregnant to achieve an implantation using donor eggs, but the age of 49 is already advanced age for a mother, and there might be health issues based on the age group of the mother, as at the age of 49 is high risk of preeclampsia, that means of high blood pressure, then low kidney functions, abnormal liver function, and women which are almost 50 years of age unfortunately can face a lot of complications during the later stages of pregnancy, not during the implantation. They can get easily pregnant, but the problem is to have a healthy delivery.
Thank you a lot. The next question is about the study. What was the study from the USA that you just mentioned?
This was the study of Kushner. If you give me a second, I can find it out. Kushner published it 2015. Yeah, Kushner and colleagues, they published it at 2015.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, if you want to have the name, you can also type the exact name of the study. Then you can email us, and we will also give you the
Yes.
exact answer. Yeah.
Yes, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually we can already do that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So okay that we explained that, and the next question is, do you recommend ear map for fresh and or frozen egg?
I'm not sure what should the term ER map mean. Probably endometrium receptivity map. So this is the question regarding quality of the lining of the endometrium. So
yes, we have the confirmation that it's exactly what you said. Mm-hmm.
So this is the question regarding the successful implantation or repeated treatment failures, and it has nothing to do with fresh or frozen eggs. This is the quality of the lining or in the womb of the recipient. So of course, if the female has faced previous treatment failures and there have been concerns arise regarding her endometrium quality, then she can consider to check the endometrium receptivity using different tests like endometrium receptivity map or array or similar tests.
Yes, and thank you for the answer. The next question for you is, I am 39 years old. Do I have a chance to get pregnant with donor fresh egg? Does my egg influence the pregnancy rate with egg donation?
So at the age of 39, you have a probability to achieve a pregnancy of 60 to 65%. It depends on how many embryos you decide to have implanted. If you choose a single embryo transfer, then your chances to get pregnant will be around 50%. If you choose double embryo transfer, you can increase the odds to 75%, but of course you need to consider the risk of twin pregnancy, as at the age of 39, the twin pregnancy is not the goal of the treatment to avoid later complications.
Thank you. Yeah. How many automatically generated suggestions do you usually have and have to choose the only one. How it's going to happen? Is it decision of a team?
Not sure how to understand the question. This is probably a question regarding the donor match and the selection of the donor, if I understand it right. So this is the teamwork, but the final, because of the mandatory anonymity, then the final matching process is just a decision of two members of our team, of the medical director and the head of the embryology lab.
Yes, we have the that this is about matching the donor.
Yes, so as I said, this is to prepare the donor is a teamwork, as the nurses and our psychologists and embryologists and other medical doctors, we all cooperate to prepare the donor. But finally, the decision which donor is chosen for which recipient is done by the medical doctor and head of the embryology department, because we need to maintain the mandatory anonymity.
Thank you. And then, who are your donors?
Donors are young girls. The average age group is 27. Approximately 2/3 of them are young mothers who have already one or two healthy children born. Partly we have also young donors, so students who have not achieved any pregnancy yet because are too young to get pregnant. And most of them come here from Czech Republic or from Slovakia.
Thank you again. The next question, do you usually out 2 eggs in or just 1 egg blastocyst?
In average, it is really 50% couples choose one embryo for transfer and approximately 50% of couples prefer double embryo transfer. The final decision is based on the previous medical history, on the age group of the recipient, and also, of course, important is the opinion and wish of the couple, because some couples do not want to risk the twin pregnancy, or they have already some children at home from previous pregnancies, and some couples, because of their long infertility history, they are not confident to get just a single embryo transfer because they are afraid to face another treatment failure, and they prefer a double embryo transfer, but not more as 2 embryos per transfer.
Thank you. And the next question, what is the average age of patients seeking egg donation in your clinic?
The average age was around 42 years of age during last year.
Looking for the next one, and this is it. Does your clinic make decision about donor recipients based on the health of the recipient or the age of the recipient?
Give me a second to understand the question. If our clinic make decisions about donor recipients based on the health of the recipients or the age? So of course we ask the recipient about to inform us about her entire medical and family history. If there are any health issues on the side of the donor, we want them to provide us with sufficient medical records, or we ask for the opinion of the specialists who take care of the recipient to be sure that the donor is safe to undergo the treatment and that the donor has not any high risk of complications. The recipient has no high risk of complications during the later pregnancy and delivery. Regarding the age of the recipient, we have a legal limit of 49 years of age. For older women, is the treatment in Czech Republic not allowed.
Thank you. And actually, this is also So this one, is there an age limit?
Yeah. So the age limit in our country is 49 years of age. That means one day before the birthday, 49 is the final day of embryo transfer.
Okay. The next one. If a patient doesn't have a period, do you give hormones first? And what the uterus is thick enough, you put an egg in.
Yes, exactly. If the patient does not have any period, we need to prepare the lining with the usage of estradiol. Estradiol is given in form of tablets or patches, or there could be some cream using estradiol. And approximately after 10 or 14 days, we need the lining thickness to be measured with the ultrasound. And if the ultrasound scan confirms good quality of the lining, then we introduce administration of progesterone, and approximately 5 days later, after progesterone was administrated, is possible to implant an embryo.
Thank you for explaining this as well. And then the next one, if egg donor and sperm donor are healthy, would you recommend to process PGS?
No. It's not necessary, as the donors and both female and male donors must be genetically tested in advance, and we have an age limit for female donors of 35 and 40 years of age for the male donors. So there is not any increased risk of inherited abnormalities on the side of the female or male donor. So resulting embryos are not necessary to be tested with genetically tested prior to implantation. But the method is available. If this is a wish of the couple, then it's feasible to perform the genetic testing.
Yes, and thank you a lot. And we have also the question which says, I would like to have a Skype consultation. And actually, just in the chat section, I put the email which you can use to send us a question about the Skype consultation. And we will for sure forward this to Dr. Hannah and IVF Cube. So just feel free to email us. I think that Dr. Hannah will help you.
Okay, so you can get in touch with us. You can find also the link on our webpage, and one of our English-speaking coordinators will get in touch with you and arrange the Skype consultation. But please provide us with the basic medical information regarding your background to be sure that what kind of treatment you are interested for.
Yes, and thank you for adding this important information as well. The next question is, can a partner be over 50 years old to give sperm?
There is no age limit for male partners, so he could be even older as 50 or 60 or 70. There is no legal limitation in our country. But the couples should consider how healthy and strong they are if they want to conceive a child at the age above 50.
And thank you for the question and the answer as well. If you have any more questions, just feel free to type them in. For now, I don't have any, and if anybody will ask a question, I will let you know. Yeah, and there it is. I thought that PGS helped to reduce potential miscarriages, aneuploidy.
Of course, PGS, the genetic testing, helps to reduce potential miscarriages, but for the egg donation cycle, is the PGD testing available but not crucial because of the age group of the donors. So if there is a fear of an aneuploidy or really a history of aneuploidy in the family, or simply the wish of the couple to do the genetic testing of embryos resulting from donated eggs and donated sperm, we can perform such testing. But consider the time consumption and also the costs related to the PGD testing, and on the other hand, the scientific background to use the genetic testing for embryos resulting from fertilization of eggs of a young donor.
Thank you. And for OE IVF, do you recommend fresh or frozen transfer?
We prefer fresh embryo transfer for egg donation.
And the next one, what chance is it to get a healthy child with egg transplantation at 49?
The pregnancy rate, the average pregnancy rate, even at the age of 49, remains to be the same. The age of the female does not play an important role, so at the age of 49 you have the same chance for a successful implantation as a girl who is 39 or who is 35 or even younger. So the average pregnancy rate is around 60 to 65%. But what you need to consider is your health condition to carry the child to the full term and to have a healthy child born, as the age of the mother plays important role. The impact of the pregnancy on the health condition of the mother is difficult to be tested in advance, and at the age of 49, unfortunately, in the later stages of the pregnancy, you can face problems with high blood pressure, with kidney function, and frequently the pregnancy needs to be terminated earlier because of the safety of the mother. If she gets strong symptoms, then the pregnancy must be terminated later, and it can put the child on the risk of prematurity.
Thank you. We have also the coming back to the previous one, if it explains anything. I meant for own egg IVF, do you recommend fresh or frozen egg transfer?
For own egg IVF, if there is a good lining quality, normal progesterone levels, and no risk of hyperstimulation, then we usually proceed with a fresh embryo transfer. In case of low lining quality or risk of hyperstimulation, or if there is increased progesterone level, then we prefer to freeze embryos and to delay the transfer for the next cycle.
And thank you a lot. We will be slowly finishing as the questions are. The next one is the procedure to choose a donor in any clinic are similar, or are there any differences?
Of course, there are differences. It depends on the pool of the donors available in any particular clinic. It depends on the country which you choose for the treatment, as you have countries where the egg donation is done namely with frozen eggs, and sometimes the eggs are imported from third countries, or some clinics have limited source of donors from other ethnic groups based on the country and geographic distribution. And there are also countries where there is a mandatory genetic testing of donors, as in the Czech Republic. We must always do genetic testing for donors to test karyotype and cystic fibrosis. We need to test the inherited deafness, and we need to test for spinal muscular atrophy. And in some countries, there are not any genetic testing of donors necessary, and they just test for HIV and transmitted diseases. So we have more strict rules for genetic testing in our country. Our clinic also offers the option of so-called match plus, so that we mean like more profound genetic testing of donor to compare the donor with the recipient to be sure that they don't carry any additional risk of the similar mutations. As any person can be a carrier of mutation, healthy carrier. Some disorders have the probability of, let's say, 1 to 40, 1 to 60 person in population carry specific mutations. And once the male partner is a known carrier of some genetic abnormality, we can offer additional testing of the donor. And we can do so also for healthy couples that we arrange a panel of broad testing of 600 inherited abnormalities, and to be more sure that there will not be a bad luck and coincidence of the healthy donor and healthy male partner to be unfortunately carrying the same genetic mutation which have never earlier be diagnosed. And also some clinics run the treatment like a program where the nurses are searching for the donors and taking care of the donors. And our clinic, for example, we do have a psychologist on the team, so we provide each donor with a psychological support. The psychologist is also helping us to select the best donor for the recipient couple. We offer also the consultations to the recipients to discuss the matching criteria based not only on the phenotype but also on the character or psychological profile of the recipient and donor. And we can disclose some of the psychological information regarding the donor from the file of the donor, but to maintain the anonymity. And this might differ among different clinics and countries.
Thank you a lot for explaining this. If both are healthy and there is no genetic issues in the family, do you recommend PGT check?
It depends on the fertility history. If there have been repeated abortions, then of course we recommend genetic testing of embryos. And it depends also on the age of the female and male partner. If the female is above 35 years of age, then we would suggest the PGT testing. If the female is recipient of donor eggs, then we usually don't need the PGT testing unless there is any inherited condition on the male side or the age of the male partner is above 50.
Yes, and thank you again. The next question. Do you recommend hysteroscopy and scratch before embryo transplant?
Investigation of the uterus, of the womb, is recommended. If there was a history of hysteroscopy and the finding was normal, then it's no need to repeat it before each embryo transfer. And the same for the scratching procedure. If previous scratching was done and there have not been any issues reported, then we usually do not recommend to be repeated for each embryo implantation.
And thank you. For now, we don't have any questions, but one person is typing, so we will wait for that. And it will be possibly the last question. I will also show you this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Becky, as well.
Yeah, and actually one more question which I just mentioned that is typed in. If my myoma 25 to 35 millimeters is situated at the top of the uterus, is it more difficult to become pregnant?
If the myoma measures just 25 to 35 millimeters and is on the top of the uterus, then it should probably not affect the implantation and it should not cause any difficulties during the pregnancy.
Okay, and actually this was our last question. We don't have any more questions to ask, and they are not appearing. So we will be finishing with the questions and the webinar. And I would really like to thank you all for the presentation, Dr. Hannah, and all the answers. Of course, all the attendees for your participation today. If you need a rewatch, it will be available tomorrow on our website. So just feel free to rewatch or just share it with anybody who would like to see that. Of course, you can find all the webinars and materials about IVF with experts on our website and social media. So just follow us. And Dr. Hannah, do you have anything to summarize or add? Any final words?
I would like to invite anyone who is interested to find more about our egg donation programs and options and treatment options to feel free to get in touch with us, and we can arrange Skype or phone consultations to explain the topic more closely and on a personal way to answer your questions in more details. So otherwise, thank you for your attention and have a nice afternoon or evening. Depends on where you are right now.
Yeah, and we also encourage you to contact IVF Cube just by sending email to us. Of course, we will forward this. As I told you, your every message will be forwarded to IVF Cube. Thank you again for you, Dr. Hannah, and for all the attendees. It was a pleasure to have you here. So have a good night. Thank you once again, IVF Cube, and see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you. Good
See
night.
you. Bye.